Hey everybody, so welcome. Sounds like someone's got their mic on.
Sorry, that was me.
Okay, all right, so if everyone would go ahead and mute your mic if it's not already. Unless you have a question for me, you can unmute at any time, ask me a question. Let's see here, I'm frozen for some reason. All right, there we go. All right, so I'm going to assume everyone can see and hear me okay. Let me see, this is a little cattywampus. Let me see if I can fix this camera angle a little bit. There we go. I think that's a little better. All right. So today we're doing a new sequence that I created this week. It's based on some stuff that I've been doing at home. Sometimes at home I do yin therapeutically, which means that I'm trying to balance or heal my body. Some of you know I had to move last year quite suddenly. I didn't get a lot of warning. Basically had to move within a week out of my apartment that I'd lived in for over 10 years. And so it was quite a physical experience. I didn't have time to like call movers or get friends or anything like that. I didn't have time to really pack things up properly. And that really hurt my back. So since then, I've been working on healing my back, and these things take time. So it's better than it's been. It keeps getting better, but it's still not 100%. So at home, sometimes I'll do yin with a therapeutic bent, which means that in class, a lot of times the way I sequence is in a balanced way. But when I'm doing therapy at home, a lot of times I don't balance. I do things in an imbalanced way because I'm trying to kind of push things in a certain direction, if you will. So this is based on a sequence that I've been doing therapeutically, but I've made some changes to make it more balanced once again, because you all don't necessarily have the same ailments as me. But I like the sequence and I wanted to turn it into a class sequence. So this, if we were to say it was for something, it's for the stomach, spleen, and liver gallbladder meridians. It really focuses on those meridians. But it's just kind of a nice, again, well-rounded yin sequence. Okay, so I'm going to suggest you lay down, begin on your belly, laying down flat. Okay, and then our first posture will be the cattail pose. So I'll demonstrate that for you. So we're starting here, and then we'll take our left leg to the left. You'll notice I bent my knee, but your leg could be straight. I'll actually turn this way so that you can see me a little better. Okay. Let me get my microphone out of my pocket here. All right, so I take my head, prop it up on my hand. I take the bottom leg, move it back as far as I can. And then I bend that knee, reach back and grab that foot and pull it in towards the buttocks, okay? And what I want to feel is a stretch at the front of that thigh. Now, cattail is a quad and hip flexor stretch. It is also a back bend and a twist. If you look at me, you'll notice that my pelvis is basically facing the ground. It's angled toward the ground. And then my chest, I'm trying to angle up toward the ceiling. So laying back, I don't have a particularly flexible torso or spine. I'm maybe average at best. So some people can lay all the way back and get their shoulder to the ground. I'm just not one of those people. But I'll still lay back as much as I can. Now this foot, I can continue pulling in, or I can, while still holding it, kick it back, and that might help take me a little further back. All right. The left leg, which is this leg here, could be straight or bent. And I can also have the knee closer to my face or further down away from my face. Now, one of the characteristics of today's sequence is there are more postures than many of our classes. So the holds will be shorter. It's the only choice that we have is if we have more postures, because all classes are an hour, then the holds have to be shorter. So today will not be any exception. We'll be doing 3-minute holds. So we have a little over a minute left here in this cattail. So what that means is, you don't want to rush, but make your way into the poses as quickly as you can and take advantage of them as much as you can. All right. 1 minute. If you were in the last class, and a couple of you were, then this is a stretch that we spent a lot of time on in the vinyasa class today. So this should be fairly easy, this quad stretch. And so again, you might emphasize more of the twist and the back bend there. We didn't do a whole ton of twisting in the vinyasa class today. Got about 30 seconds left here. So I mentioned at the beginning, this could be thought of as a sequence for the stomach, spleen, and liver gallbladder meridians. This is a stomach spleen pose, not so much a liver gallbladder pose. All right, let's go ahead and release out of that. We do that just by rolling back onto our belly. I'll again turn so that I can continue facing the camera, but you don't need to turn. Okay, so side 2, we take the right leg and scoot it up, again straight or bent. Take the left leg, scoot it back, prop your head up on the hand and elbow, bend the knee, reach back and grab the foot. And we're in cattail, stretching the quad, the front of that thigh. I didn't mention the head. I usually just keep my head up on my hand like I have right now, but you can rest your head on the upper part of your arm, on a block or a pillow or blanket or something like that, or even on the ground. Some people, they lay back and they put their head on the ground. So it really just depends on what's comfortable. This is not a head or neck pose, right? So it's important when we're doing postures to prioritize what is truly important and what is not very important. It's funny in yoga, some teachers obsess about things like, what position your fingers are pointed in and things like this. I'm not saying it has no importance in certain postures, but oftentimes, like, what position your fingers are pointing in is the least important thing in a pose. Okay, so what I was taught by my teacher is that you work in order of importance from the inside out, essentially. So the most important thing in any pose is really generally your spine. What is your spine doing? And then you go out to the hips and shoulders, and then you radiate out from there. So like most of the yoga gold, if you will, is when we're working with our torso and our hips and our shoulders. That's the really big impact stuff. I'm not saying you can't do yoga for your fingers or your toes. You can. There are stretches for your fingers and your toes. Don't be afraid of doing that stuff. But don't think that the impact is going to be huge. Generally, the stuff that really impacts our energy, impacts our mood, impacts our health are things where we're working the spine, the hips, and the shoulders, and the big muscles that attach to them, right? These are our biggest muscles right here. So it's going to have a big impact. If I'm like working my little finger, doing yoga for my pointer finger, it's just not going to have that much effect. I'm sorry. I can stretch it out. If I'm a musician and I'm using those muscles a lot and they're tense, then, I might feel more of an impact than the average person. but generally speaking, it's the spine, hips, and shoulders, basically in that order. That's the big impact stuff. The reason I bring this up is, again, time. If we had time to spend the next 3 hours stretching everything, sure, awesome, let's do it. We feel great. If you've never done a class like that, it feels great. Work every joint in your body. But time is a big factor when we're doing yoga. All right, let's go ahead and unwind. We got one more pose in this set, and it is a frog. So you come back onto your belly, press yourself back. I'm going to turn, but you don't have to. It just sort of depends on what's going on with your pose. And we take those legs pretty much as wide as they'll go. And we want to feel a stretch in the inside of the thighs now. So those are the adductors. Your feet flex or point, again, not that important. I'm not saying it doesn't make a difference. I'm not saying it isn't important at all. It's just not that important, okay? I can do the pose like this successfully. I can do it like that successfully. This is a little more comfortable for me today. I could also have my feet in closer or further out. Now that changes to some degree the stretch that I feel. I like my feet here today, but I've done it before the other way, and that's a perfectly fine way to do it. Same with the hands. I'm up on my hands right now. I could stay here the whole time, but I can also come down to my forearms. If my head is heavy, I can place my head on a block and support it, okay? I could also lay my torso on a bolster. So I like options. And the reason I like options is, in my experience, teaching yoga and teaching meditation for over 2 decades now, one size just does not fit all. And this is why I'm encouraging many students right now, students of mine who've been with me for a long time, to reach out if they're having a tough time, because there's a lot of nuance to what we do. And sometimes we just need a little nudge in the right direction, or sometimes we just need to tweak something ever so slightly, change our attitude or our outlook on what we're doing. And that can make all the difference between success and failure. And it's not a one-time thing, like, you know, we have success and then that's it, we're done. For most people, yoga and enlightenment and meditation, it's a path, it's a process. So we can have successes, we can have failures, we can have a mixture of both. It's very rare that our path to awakening and enlightenment is a straight one. So we tend to have a mix of both. We have some successes. We might be meditating and feel like, oh my God, life is so amazing, and meditation's amazing, and spirituality is amazing, my teacher's amazing. And then we can go through a period where it's like, it feels like nothing is working. And a lot of times that's a great time to reach out to our teacher, whoever that is. Whoever our main teacher is, reaching out and saying, hey, this is what's up with me. And they might say, that's totally normal, just keep doing what you're doing. Or they might say, that's interesting, let's talk. Or they might give you a different technique or make a suggestion. All right, let's go ahead and come on out of that. And child pose is what I recommend. So you just bring your heels in or your knees in. And you can just rest in a child pose for a little bit. Now, if child is not comfortable for you, choose any position that is. The intention of sequencing child here is that it would be relaxing and comfortable. So if it's not, then again, one size does not fit all. You know, let's say I wanted to reward you for a job well done. And I said, hey, you know, I'm going to buy you a chocolate ice cream as a reward. Well, what if you don't like chocolate ice cream? It's not much of a reward then, is it? All right, so choose something that's comfortable in that spot. That's what's intended there. Okay, let's move on. We'll come up into a tabletop position, so hands and knees. And we can do a little bit of the bear pose here. Just moving our hips and our spine around a bit, loosening things up, waking things up, right? Good, and then we can come into a down dog. Again, just stretching, waking the legs up and the joints in the legs. And then we'll move into a sleeping swan. So bringing the right knee toward the right wrist, the right foot across to the left side of the mat, the hips down and back, and then you can stay up on your hands if you want, but most people are more comfortable coming to their forearms. The stretch should be here. This is the target. So these we call the gluteals or glutes. There are 10 muscles in this group. There are 5 last group, so twice as many muscles. There are also larger muscles. All right, so this tends to be a very intense stretch for many people. Now, I've got options, as always. Like I said, I like options. I think it's really the only way to practice yoga safely and effectively. If I teach and I don't give people options, then there's no way, from what I've learned, that I'm going to be able to teach effectively and safely. Some people will be putting themselves in unnecessary risk, and some people will be essentially not getting the benefit of what we're doing. So we want to feel stretch here. We want to feel safe. I can have well, let's look at the foot first. My right foot can be back toward my hip, which is where it is. But if I have more rotation in this joint, my hip joint, I can pull the foot up closer to the front of the mat. So maybe you've seen, it's usually a girl, a woman in class. She can pull her foot up, parallel with the front edge of the mat, have her foot flexed. I don't know if you can see it there, like that. Okay, what does that mean? It means that she has more rotation in this joint than most, because most people can't do that. Most people can't do that. It doesn't matter how much yoga they practice. Most people don't have that much what's called external rotation in this joint. So the girl who you see doing that, it doesn't mean she's practiced more yoga than you. It doesn't mean she's more spiritual than you. It just means she has more rotation in this hip joint. Okay? Sometimes when we stretch out this joint, we increase our rotation. Usually it increases, but it may never increase to the amount that woman or that girl who can do that. Sometimes it's a guy. There are guys who have that too. The other thing we can do is play around with the position of this knee. So this knee can point straight ahead, or I can angle it out. Mine's angled out slightly. That's called abduction. So I'm abducting the knee a bit. That's just a little more comfortable for me. And then my hips some people do the pose like this. Okay, other people do the pose like that. They're all the way over on this side and their hip is coming up. Perfectly fine, as long as you feel the stretch and you feel safe, all right? That's what's important. Safety first, and then make sure the pose is effective. Okay, let's switch sides. So coming through a down dog or a tabletop will work just as well. Sinking into that stretch in the left hip, the left side. Okay, again, I can play around with the leg and knee position, the foot position. Again, you can see on this side better. My foot is near my hip. Okay, it is there because if I tried to pull my foot up, I would start tweaking my knee, not increase the stretch in my hip. I've got plenty of stretch in my hip. So again, sometimes I see people in class and I can tell just by the way that they're moving and what they're doing that they have no hope of getting this foot up to this position. Their body's just not going to do it. But I see them trying to yank and pull it up. And usually what that means is that's ambition. they somehow think that it's better, or they are better, or the pose is, prettier if their foot is here instead of back here. And so instead of honoring where their body is, they, with, again, ambition, they're trying to be ambitious. They're trying to push things further than they need to go. So in Vinyasa class, some of you were in Vinyasa class with me. It's different when we're working with strength. Okay, strength and endurance. Strength and endurance are things that we can push in a healthy way. We can push ourselves. We can get to the point where the muscles are fatiguing and we can push a little further. And generally, that will increase our health. It will help our health. We will get healthier. We will get stronger in general. Flexibility is different. Flexibility, if I bring myself to the point where I feel a stretch and I stop there and I breathe there, then if my body is going to open, it will open on its own over time. I don't need to force the issue, okay? And if I find myself coming to a certain point where my body stops naturally and I feel a stretch there, but it doesn't go any further, then that's it. That's it. Okay, my foot has been in the same position since I started yoga. It's not going to change. Every time I do this pose, I feel a stretch out here in my hip. Okay, it's not going to change. It doesn't need to change. That's what's important to understand. I'm getting the benefit. I'm releasing the tension from my body, which is the point of the pose, not to become more flexible. I could care less if I become more flexible. All right, I'm benefiting myself. Again, today we're focused more on the meridians or energy channels. All right, let's go ahead and unwind. And we have one more pose in this set. So we come from here onto our belly into a Sphinx. All right, so propped up on the elbows. Now, this is the first time that I really have an opportunity to talk more about the props. So let's take a look at them. All right, so Sphinx can be done just propped up on your elbows. There's another pose that is essentially the same pose done with the arms straight. That's called seal pose. And you would do seal if you don't feel the stretch in your back or the compression in your back. All right, so if you're here, you don't feel anything in your back, you could do that. Another option is you take a couple of blocks or maybe a bolster. You can use a bolster and you prop yourself up like so. Okay, and again, the idea is to compress the back a little bit. Not too much, but also not too little. All right, so just a little bit of sensation in the back is plenty. Your legs could be together or apart. You could put them in a full lotus. Your head could be held up or drop forward or drop back. That's usually just mostly a comfort thing. So what is most comfortable? But it's said that dropping your head back can help stimulate the glands and nerves at the front of the neck. So if you're up and you want to drop your head back and that feels comfortable, by all means, there may be an added benefit in the stimulation of the glands there. Okay, the last posture was a gallbladder posture. Okay, the first pose we did again was stomach spleen, then we did liver. That was gallbladder, and now we're back to stomach and spleen again. So we're working that front side of our body here, okay, in our Sphinx posture. About halfway there, all right? Just staying with it. Sometimes we have to adjust, go further if we're not feeling anything happening, or come out of the pose if it's feeling like it's a little too much for us. 1 minute left here. Okay, again, so we're going to rest. We're going to take a break. So come on down. And again, if laying on your belly, that's called crocodile pose, makarasana. If that's a comfortable position, use that position. If child pose sounds inviting, then do a child pose. If shavasana, if laying on your back, what we call pentacle pose, is inviting, then do that instead. Again, one size does not fit all. We don't have to try and fit our body and our experience into some prefabricated and pre-made thing. Now, at the same time, it's important that we try and stick with the program. So this is why I tell students, you know, when you have trouble, reach out to me and let me know so that I can help advise you, because we are trying to do something very specific here. So while it's true that one size does not fit all, it's not true do whatever you want, right? This isn't do whatever you want, because do whatever we want, we're not going to get specific benefits. If I want to learn the piano and my teacher says, do whatever you want, then I'm probably not going to learn the piano, right? Because I want to go take a walk outside. I don't want to play the piano. So in order for me to learn the piano, I have to have some discipline. I have to stay on track, right? I have to actually play the piano. Then my teacher might say, well, okay, do you want to learn Bach? Do you want to learn Coldplay? Do you want to learn Billy Joel? You know, at least I'm learning something at the piano. Okay, let's go ahead and make our way to a seat. If you're on your back, you could hinge up. If you were in child pose, you could come through bear pose or a down dog if you like. Whatever works is fine. Come up to a seat and we will do a dragonfly, hitting the liver channel again. Okay, so take the legs straight and wide. I was asked today about flexing the feet, whether we're supposed to flex the feet or not. There's no, you know, you can flex them if you want. The benefit to doing that is it brings a stretch further down the leg, but now you're using these muscles to do that. So usually we relax that part of the leg because it stretches here. This is the stretch we're interested in. Not that this is a bad stretch, it's not, but I'd rather stretch these muscles in downward dog than this, okay? And then I can relax these muscles, right? So coming forward and down, we let the upper body relax. Again, this is a good time to talk about props. I could use a block under my forehead here for a little extra support, or 2 blocks under my forearms. All right, if that makes sense for me. And again, I don't want to lose the stretch in my groin. So as long as I can support myself and still stretch my groin, then it's fine. If I lose the stretch in my groin, then I've got too much support. And I don't feel the stretch in my groin, so I'm going to get rid of this. I'll see if maybe with this under my forehead, so-so. I maybe move this down a bit. That's better. Okay. So once again, unfortunately, for many of us and most of the time, comfort is the enemy of health. You know, some people don't like it when I say things like that. I'm just reporting my experience and what we're learning. So I was watching a video about from a scientist, about a scientist. He was giving a talk, and he was talking about longevity, life extension. And basically, if you were to sum up, he was talking about all these different things that you could do to extend your life. And if I were to sum up the common thread in all of those things, whether it was diet or exercise or anything else, the main thread was take yourself out of the comfort zone. By shocking your cells and by shocking your body a little bit, not too much, your body actually responds by getting healthier, or you could say getting younger. All right. So again, in our culture, we live in a capitalist society, and it's driven by money. And the way that people often get us to part with our money is by promising us that they're going to make our life easier or more comfortable. And that's very appealing to us. We really like that. And so many of us have grown up very sheltered, very comfortable, relatively speaking. We haven't really known what it's like to go hungry. Many of us have never really fasted, right? We think if we miss one meal, like we're going to die. You're not going to die. You could miss days and not die. You might be uncomfortable, but guess what? Your health will actually probably improve. Improve. Again, people don't like hearing that. They like to believe that, oh, no. If I miss a meal, that's a bad thing. I can tell I get hangry and I get headaches and I get all this stuff. Yes, but actually your vital stats probably will improve over that period of time, as uncomfortable as it is. All right, shoelace. So we're going to bring the legs in, cross the right knee over the left and left over the right, like so. Okay, and then we come forward and down, and we want to feel the stretch out here, probably mostly in the top leg, but you might also feel it in the other leg. Once again, I can use props to help. In fact, I might for this one. This feels about right for me. Okay. And then just let me know if you're having a hard time with this one. I doubt most people don't have too much trouble with this. It can be done on your back, though, manually pulling the legs across, as long as you feel the stretch there, and again, it feels safe. All right. But if you're having a hard time, let me know. Another thing that can help is sitting up on something. So you could fold up a blanket and sit on that, or you could sit on one of these blocks if that's helpful. Again, we'll be here for about 3 minutes. We've got just over 2 minutes left in this one. So again, discomfort, challenge, those types of things, for many of us in the West, it's a foreign concept. Maybe the only area where we have some familiarity with it is maybe in academics, where we realize that, you know, if we go to college and we are challenged mentally to learn new things and expand, that it's somehow going to lead to a greater success in the future. Maybe that's the one area where in our culture, this idea of being challenged exists. But physically, we are very often encouraged to not do that. We're actually encouraged to indulge ourselves, right? Oh, you like ice cream? Well, we've got the best ice cream here. Or you like this? Well, you should have more of what you like. And unfortunately for us, that is not what tends to lead to health, longevity, and really a sense of what I'm going to call vitality. Vitality. So vitality, another way of saying it might be a sense of aliveness. Waking up in the morning and feeling really alive and feeling really awake and feeling like you can't wait to see what the day brings. Lately, I've been getting up early and going out for walks. Now, many of you who know me know that I already was walking about 3 miles every day. I've been trying to double that to about 6 miles. So I get up in the morning, I'll walk for an hour or maybe 2 hours before I start my day and get on with work and other things that I need to do. And it's very invigorating because it's something I wasn't doing before. It's a way that I've found to challenge myself, to push my edge. Let's switch sides. Okay, so this is the shoelace. Side 2, it's an asymmetrical pose, so we always need to do both sides when we're doing that. So for me, that's an edge. Walking 3 miles for someone else might be an edge already. Walking for 30 minutes might be a challenge. But for me, I've been doing that for a long time. So I started with 30 minutes. Once I had sort of gotten used to doing that, I started adding time, try to get up to 3 miles, which takes about an hour, a little over an hour usually. And now I'm trying to bring in even more. And again, every time that I challenge myself and I do something that's out of that comfort zone, I feel more of that sense of vitality. Another thing I've started doing is taking cold showers. There's some evidence, mostly that's been developed around a gentleman named Wim Hof, and he's a yogi, and he's developed certain things that he teaches to people. One of them is being in the cold. And so he really encourages people to expose themselves to cold. And one of the easiest ways to do this, simplest ways, is cold showers. Now, if you know me, you know I hate the cold, especially a cold shower, like, no thank you. But again, I have to say that after doing that, along with the walks and some of the other things that I'm doing to challenge myself, I feel very alive. I feel, a real sense of possibility. And so this is something I'm always looking for in my life, is growth. Many of you know that I've been working on my vocals now for a couple of years, trying to improve my voice, and that's an ongoing project. But these other things are things that more recently I brought in, ways that I can challenge myself and grow. So again, if we might think that what we want is a routine, and we want to know all the parameters, and we want to come home and have our Ben and Jerry's and watch our favorite TV show because that's very comforting. And you're right, it's comforting. And sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes we just need to relax into the known and what's comfortable and easy for us for a period of time. But we don't want to stay there. And unfortunately, for many of us, that's where we live most of our lives. And again, I'm not here to criticize anybody. I'm not here to tell anyone that what you're doing is wrong. So if you're doing that and you feel very vital, very alive, then keep doing what you're doing. Eat all the Ben & Jerry's you want, as long as you're feeling that. But if there's a sense of dullness, maybe even depression in your life, or a sense of hopelessness, a sense of what's the point, then you might want to tune in to what I'm talking about here. All right, let's come on out of this. We'll again rest for a moment before we continue. And I would recommend just resting back on your back. But again, whatever's comfortable for you is perfectly fine. Choose something that makes sense for your body, okay? While you do that, I'll set up for our next posture, which is a challenging posture, to say the least. And again, challenging often means therapeutic. Sad, but true. Sorry, again, I like to say, don't kill the messenger, right? Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reporting on what I have found about our reality, our shared reality. I definitely did not set things up this way. If I could create a reality, it would be eat all the Ben and Jerry's you want, watch all the television you want, and you will get stronger and healthier by doing so. But I have to be honest with you, right? I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to tell you something that isn't true. And so in my experience, that isn't true. Okay. All right. So bring your legs in, give them a nice squeeze, move around a little bit, shake it out. We call it the leg cradle. And then hinge up to seated. Slide your hands under your hips, palms down, extend your legs up straight unless there's pain in your back, and then bend your knees a bit until the pain goes away. Lift your head and neck up, take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, lower the legs toward the ground. And just before they touch the ground, pause, inhale, pop the legs up, and exhale, let the weight of your legs pull you up to seated. Okay, so we're upright now, seated. All right, this is the saddle pose. So sitting back into a kneeling position, you can sit on your heels or between your heels. You could also sit on a block that is between your heels. Okay, there are two areas that tend to create problems in this posture. One is the feet and ankles. The other is the knees. So let's look at the feet and ankles first. If the bones of your feet are pressing into the ground, take a blanket and put it underneath your feet. Add a little extra padding. If your ankles hurt, then roll a blanket like I've done and place it under the ankle joint so that joint will not need to straighten completely. Okay? Your feet can point backward or out to the sides. Okay, out to the side, whoops, would look like this. All right? Not everyone can do that, so if that's not for you, don't do it. All right, if that hurts, again, it's not a competition. This isn't better than the other position. It's just different. Now, if your knees hurt, you could try sitting on something. All right, you can try taking your knees wider. Very often that helps. And again, I want to feel safe. What my feet are doing, what my knees are doing, it's safe. It's within the range of what is safe for my body. Now, if I feel a strong stretch in the front of my thighs, I'm going to stay right there. That's the point. That's stomach and spleen channel right there. So I'm going to stay with that. If I don't feel it, then I begin lowering back to my hands, elbows, or if you have props, you can lay back onto a bolster like I've done. I like to call this the yoga lazy boy. Okay, so I lay back. I can put something under my head just like that, right? But I don't feel a stretch, so I'm going to go further. I begin by getting rid of this block. Still don't really feel a stretch, so I'll get rid of the bolster. Again, not because I'm trying to impress anybody or because that's the picture in the book or any such nonsense. I do this so that I feel the posture, so that the posture is effective. Okay, so this is the saddle pose. Now, again, I want to be very mindful of what I'm asking my ankles and my knees to do and my back. Those are the areas that are stressed the most. The ankles and the knees are secondary. They're not really what we are aiming for. We're actually aiming for the back and the front of the thighs. But they are, it's hard to avoid stressing those areas when doing this posture. So they have to be considered when we're doing a pose like this. We can't just pretend like the ankles and the knees are, we're not asking them to do anything challenging, because we are. All right. So we're more than halfway through already. just going to do 3 minutes here, as we've done throughout the class today. Again, if we had more time to spend together, we would spend longer in these postures, do 5 minutes each. But time, again, is a very important consideration. Everyone's busy. No one really can take time to do lots of yoga, so we have to consider the timing, how long the classes are. The pandemic has only made that even more of an issue than before. All right, just about 30 seconds left here. Again, if you're finding this challenging or difficult in certain ways, that is not a bad thing at all. As long as we don't injure ourselves. The old expression, doesn't kill you makes you stronger, can be modified for yoga. What doesn't injure you makes you stronger, okay? So we don't want to injure ourselves, but anything short of that, even if it's really uncomfortable, even if it's really difficult, it's basically making us stronger. It's making us healthier, or it's bringing us that sense of vitality that I mentioned earlier. All right, let's come on out of this. Take your time. There are 3 ways out. One is to roll over onto one side. Another is to press yourself up. And the last way is just to release your legs one at a time, like that. Again, one size does not fit all when it comes to getting out of that pose. So you may find there's only one way for you to get out of it, and that's perfectly fine. Choose the way that makes the most sense for your body. All right, we're going to finish with the twisted roots. So let's bring our legs in. Give them a little squeeze. This is a kind of intense posture, so we can release that a bit. And then we cross the right knee over the left, and we drop our knees to the left. Feel free to put a block under your knees if you like a little extra support. But again, try and avoid too much support. Twists work the spine, and then they also stretch the muscles in the torso, maybe the hip, the shoulder, and possibly the neck as well. Okay, so those are the areas that you will tend to feel this. Feel free to experiment with the position of your knees and your head and your arms. Right? Certain positions will generate more stretch, more twist than other positions. Once you do find something effective, just try and relax there for the 3 minutes. We've got about 2 minutes and 15 seconds left. So again, to return to this idea I was talking about earlier, we basically want to find ways to take ourselves out of our comfort zone. By taking ourselves out of our comfort zone, we expand it. And in my experience, I think we want an ever-expanding comfort zone. That's what brings us a sense of vitality and aliveness in this human life. In a sense, we keep growing in ways throughout our lives. So again, these are just small ways that I've found where I can grow. I hate the cold. So doing something that requires me to face that aversion to the cold is good for me. And again, it would expand my comfort zone. So at some point, maybe I'll be able to be exposed to extreme cold and not feel that adverse reaction that I'm used to feeling. I look forward to that day, because then that's one less situation where I can be made to feel uncomfortable or out of place, or like I'm being threatened in some way. Now, again, this might sound like a lot of work, but once we get used to it, it becomes almost addictive. It really becomes something that we start looking for in our lives. How can I challenge myself a bit? How can I take myself out of my comfort zone? How can I find an edge? Let's switch sides. So the nice thing in yoga is usually we can find it. In our postures, we can find, ways of doing postures that maybe challenge our body a little bit. We can also choose different kinds of practices, right? If we're good at yin or we like yin, then we can choose to do a vinyasa or a hatha yoga class, something that is outside of what's comfortable and easy for us. And then we can even within yoga, the larger umbrella of yoga, if we've only ever been doing postures, asanas, then we can begin to expand out into practices like meditation, pranayams, bandhas, and mudras, things that require more focus and more challenge and aren't so body oriented. What I find is many people, because there are so many different kinds of practices in yoga, many people just choose what is easy and comfortable for them. And that's not a bad place to start, but I'd say it's a bad place to end. It's a bad place to stay. It's great to find something that you resonate with in yoga and to let that draw you in. But then you want to expand beyond that. And so this is one of the reasons why I introduced chanting to my classes many years ago now. But I did that because many of the people coming to yoga classes are coming for the postures. And if you ask them to do anything else, they, oh no, we have to sing? I don't want to sing. Why are we singing? I came here to do exercise. So that's a great way of taking us out of our comfort zone. One of the things I'm looking forward to doing once the pandemic is over is I want to start dancing because I've never danced. I'm not a dancer. I'm very uncomfortable dancing. I don't enjoy it. I don't like it. But again, for me, that's an edge. That's a place where I can intentionally take myself out of my comfort zone and grow and learn. It doesn't mean I'm going to be a great dancer. I doubt it. I've been singing now for a while. I've been working on my singing. I don't think I'm a great singer. It's not the point. But these things, again, bring a sense of vitality and aliveness to us that we don't get from staying within our comfort zone. All right, everyone, let's unwind from that. Make our way onto our back and relax for a few moments. All right, bring your legs in, give them a little squeeze, shake it out, and then make your way into pentacle or shavasana, the relaxation pose on your back. And I'll guide you through a little bit of progressive relaxation. It's you could call it yoga nidra. It's a little too short, really, to be a yoga nidra. But we'll just move our awareness to different parts of the body, and as we do, we'll just relax those parts of the body. All right, so make yourself very comfortable. If you can shut off the lights, shut off the lights. You can use your props to make yourself comfortable, laying on your back. And there are two main things we want when doing this practice. One is we want our body to remain still, and that means even small movements, like moving your fingers and toes. You don't want to do that. You don't want to itch and scratch while we're doing this. If you can, just let it wait. And the other thing is you want to stay alert, even though you're relaxing. Relaxation, alertness don't normally go together. But in yoga, we're bringing them together. The opposites come together in yoga. That's what yoga is all about. Okay, so generally, if we're alert, we aren't drowsy, we aren't sleepy, we aren't relaxed. And then if we're relaxed, we're kind of drowsy and sleepy, we're not very alert. So we're bringing that together. Let's begin by taking a nice full deep breath in, and we'll just exhale with a deep sigh. And then let's bring our awareness down to our toes and just feel our 10 toes. And we'll feel them relax. Now the ankles. Feel the ankles relax. The knees. Relax the knees. Pelvis. Let it relax. The abdomen. Chest. Shoulders. Throat. Chin. Face. Head. The back of your head. The shoulder blades. Your back. Your buttocks. The back of both thighs. The calves. Your heels. And the soles of both feet. Now the whole body. The whole body. Relax. I encourage you to stay here relaxing for the next few minutes. I'm going to leave you at this point. If there is some way that I can assist you with your practice during this potentially very stressful time, please feel free to reach out, contact me. You can do that through my website, Facebook, or my Patreon page. And I will do my best to try and help you. As a yoga teacher, I have a lot of tools that you can use, again, to help you find that sense of vitality and aliveness that we're all looking for. This is really what we want in life, is this experience of feeling very alive, enjoying life. And I promise you it's possible, but it's not possible by staying in the comfort zone. It's just not. We can indulge ourselves that way, and we might tell ourselves that that's happiness, but it's not. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's class. Again, just relax there for the next few minutes. And hopefully I'll see you next week at 4:45 for Vinyasa and 6 o'clock for Yin. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Namaste.